proud.
Absolutely. I mean, for a cricket nation that doesn't have a home to play cricket, the country wanted this kind of a performance from their players. Cricket is a great bond. And this team has been very special since last 12 months or so. I mean, Misbah-ul-Haq has led them calmly, and the boys have responded splendidly well. I mean, they've been consistent with the selection processes. The dressing room is a happy place, no politics. The bench strength has improved. And it is only because of the happy environment in the dressing room that the team went out there thinking that they can win and float the best side in the world. Outstanding, sensational performance indeed.
Yeah, that happy environment you talk about, is it as simple as captain and coach being in perfect synchronisation?
No, I think they've learned a lesson from that 2010, huge controversy. And I think players took upon themselves to redeem Pakistan cricket's image, redeem themselves. And the only way out for Pakistan cricket and Pakistan cricket team was to win every match. And I think that got them focused. And as I mentioned, the selection has been pretty consistent. And captaincy has made a lot of difference. I think Misbah-ul-Haq may not come across as a flamboyant captain, but he gets the job done. Playing three spinners can be a defensive approach, but he's turned the defensive approach into an attacking art because he uses them beautifully. Saeed Ajmal is a difficult bowler to handle because, unlike Muralidharan, who had to pitch the ball wide to get it to hit the stumps, he doesn't have to do that. I mean, he can get that angle from the same range as he bowls his doosra. So he's been the real difference. And then Abdur Rahman, he's been the silent partner in this partnership, unsung hero, how well he was today.
Indeed. Now, at stages earlier in the day, some of your co-commentators were suggesting that the batting of Shafiq and Azhar yesterday was maybe not quite what was needed. A more positive approach might have been good. I mean, in hindsight now, of course, it was exactly what was needed, and they deserve a real pat on the back for their efforts.
Yes, David, because, now every little performance will be highlighted. A good catch, a good doosra ball, an umpiring decision, a good DRS review, that kind of stuff. And, that partnership at the end of the day became and was critical. I thought, Asad Shafiq played spin really well. Azhar Ali is a good number 3 batsman. He showed good temperament. I think, and playing under pressure will improve their temperament further. I mean, we've got two very fine young cricketers.
Playing in UAE, playing in Dubai and Abu Dhabi is now familiar for Pakistan. Does it feel like home now for them?
Well, I'm not too sure. I mean, this place still doesn't have the, the Test cricket culture. And if Pakistan had the option to pick a pitch after winning the first Test match at Dubai, they would have gone for a flat track, would have looked to draw this game, draw the next one, and would have been quite happy winning the series 1-0. But, this was a different pitch altogether, and thankfully different, because I thought, there was that wonderful balance between bat and ball, and some special spinners we saw in this Test match also.
All right. Now, Nas, that balance between bat and ball seemed to disappear in the last couple of hours.
Yeah, it was, just unexplained, to be honest. It was poor cricket from England, exceptional from Pakistan. The quality of spin bowling, I think England have feasted on some pretty average spin bowling over the last year or so, and suddenly they saw 2 or 3 high-quality spinners, and they didn't know what to do. I think the first 15 overs really set the course and didn't show any kind of intent. 21 for 1 after 15 overs, and Pakistan and Misbah were very happy. They could keep their close catches. They kept England under pressure, and England were going nowhere. I know Bob mentioned Graham Thorpe of my era. I'll mention another left-hander who you've had in the studio with you, Marcus Trescothick. England would not have been 21 for 1 chasing 146 with Marcus Trescothick in. He would have swept, he would have used his feet, even against these guys. He did it against Murali, he did it against the best. He would have seized the initiative and put Pakistan on the back foot, as Broad did in that first innings. They looked a shambles when Broad was whacking them around. There wasn't that intensity. So I think England played into their hands a little bit, and I'd like to have seen a bit more intent up front.
Yeah, I take the point. I understand the point. But, of course, the truth is that Trescothick is not playing. You've got 2 men at the top of the order there who are accumulators of runs, especially Alistair Cook. I've seen him in Bangladesh a year or 2 ago playing some shots against spinners, but you can't expect necessarily, or do you expect, for instance, Alistair Cook to change his game accordingly to overcome things like we've seen today.
No, but as Bob said earlier, it's not about slog and hit. It is about manoeuvring the ball. It is about nudging the ball into areas. They weren't busy at the crease. The problem they've got is that they've got a captain who's out of form, who was searching for form. So you wouldn't expect him to go out there and run down the pitch to Abdurrahman and hit him over long on. He's not got a deucer or magic delivery. You hit with the spin over long on, just get rid of a fielder in front of you. And the problem was as well, Ian Bell came in at 3, not Jonathan Trott. And Bell is out of nick. So again, they went nowhere. They could have promoted someone just to seize the initiative. There's too many batsmen, David, out of nick. Kevin Pietersen keeps telling us he hasn't got a problem against left-arm spin. Who did he get out to today? Left-arm spin. Owen Morgan doesn't know how to play in this form of the game at the moment. He was unlucky because in both innings, it was an unusual circumstance. First innings, 20 minutes to go. You don't expect him to come running down the pitch or those reverse sweeps. And 50 for 5, he came in. And again, he misjudged the length. England batsmen are not picking up length. They weren't done by spin today. It did not rag square. They were done by subtle variations, changes of pace. A lot of batsmen done on the back foot with a quicker delivery. All of them aren't picking up length because they're out of nick.
Yeah, it was Bob in the studio who suggested that a Broad or a Swan up the order might have given England a chance to go for runs, to change the dynamic of the game there. But again, that's it's much easier to say that in a studio than it is in a dressing room. But looking back on it, is that something you can do, should do?
Something you can do when you're a commentator and sitting out and saying thank you. Isn't that a cunning plan? We'll send Broad in or Swan in. It's something in the dressing room you don't do. Maybe you should, you don't. I'll tell you something. We've watched England, David, you and I and the rest of the guys for 2 or 3 years. Did we really think Flower and Strauss, the way they've gone about their business, would come up with that sort of plan? How have they won test matches? How have they got to #1 in the world? By sitting in, by soaking up pressure. What they haven't done is they need to learn. There was a test match quite a long time ago in Adelaide in that 3rd innings where they just went nowhere and that cost them. Make a mistake, make it again, but don't make it a 3rd time. Learn from your mistakes.
All right, Ramiz, great times for Pakistan cricket. Another test match, of course, coming up next week. Can they make it 3-0?
Certainly can, because I think England will be fed with more of the same. Pakistan will be relentless. They'll have close-in fielders. The confidence is higher. They've already now won the test rubber. They'll be a little bit relaxed also, but their approach will be the same. I think Misbah-ul Haq will be a little bit more attacking. But just to carry on with Nasser's point, I think to be successful in subcontinent, I think teams from abroad have to be a little bit flexible in the mindset, take charge of the events and not wait and sit in, because, Chris Broad promotion would have been ideal today. But that was not taken by England, and as a result, they suffered.
OK, thanks to you both. Just reassure you that Chris Broad has not been promoted from match referee to #3 batsman. It's Stewart, of course, that he's trying to refer to there. I mean, just to go with that point for one final go, I suppose the thing is, if you do try and promote a lower order batsman for that one reason, OK, looking back at it in hindsight, what can you lose by it? It kind of sends a message to your, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be, that they're not good enough.
Well, no, I don't think it does. I think it would have been an innovation, particularly with Trott not being able to come in at #3 because of his illness. Rather than put an out-of-form Ian Bell up there, I would have taken the risk. Yeah. Broad or Swan hitting 25 at that moment could have taken the pressure off England. And even when that free-scoring player was out, the field wouldn't have been the same because the runs to win would have been so much less, and he couldn't have afforded to have 4 catchers round the bat. So, yeah, it's easy as commentators to say what should have done, but the prop and cock didn't work in Dubai. Try something different.
Yeah. I mean, where I will agree with you, the one nuance of that where I'd say yes, absolutely right, is that the man promoted has much more freedom of mind to do that. Whereas if you are, whether you're in form or out of form, if you are a 3-4-5, an orthodox 3-4-5, you feel the responsibility, as it were, in inverted commas, to bat properly.
You need 145 to win a test match. You're a top 6 batsman, averaging between 40 and 50. You don't pass the buck. Well, for me, you don't pass the buck. The only way I would have agreed with it is in this situation when Trott was ill and nobody else has to move. Yeah. You take Swan from 9 and put him in at 3 and let him have a go. Possibly. Yeah. But I still, if I was in Andrew Flower's shoes, Andy Strauss's shoes, I'd be saying, we need 145 to win a test match. You five, the other 5 years, 6 years, including prior, you average over 40 in test cricket. Go and win a test match. And they haven't done that. They haven't been good enough to do it. Yeah, well, two disparate points of view, both of them have merit. Right, if you want a clue as to how to bat under these circumstances, albeit not to win the game in the 4th innings, have a look at the way that Azhar Ali and Asad Shafiq played yesterday afternoon and this morning. 2 young men, not with great records or long test careers to their names, but with what turned out to be cool heads and good judgment. 88 off 253 balls. They spent time in the crease. They spent a lot of time at the crease. And then they attacked when it was right to attack. Anything that was overpitched, anything that was a bit short of the spinners, they put away. And they're great shots by young men under pressure. And that's the pleasing thing for Pakistan cricket. Now, let's put some praise here on how well on Pakistan cricket, because out of their own country, it was interesting to hear Ramiz say there. The question you asked the question, what Pakistan had to do after 2010, and he said it was simple: win cricket matches. Well, I'd like to look a bit further into that. How do you win cricket matches? It's easy to say win cricket matches, but they've gone for a settled side, young players, being confident to give them their own heads, and the captain and the coach have seemed to be in sync with each other, and they've been on a level playing field and not up and down like Pakistan have used to be, and they're reaping the rewards even though they're not playing their own country.
Yeah, they have, by the look of it, picked the right men there, Bob.
They have, yeah. It was an outstanding partnership. We saw one from Alistair Cook and Jonathan Trott. They're far more experienced. They've been in the game a lot longer, got many more runs and many more hundreds, and indeed double hundreds under their belt. But in the context of a low-scoring match, the efforts of that pair were quite outstanding, and I think we'll see a lot more from them as well, because I don't think, even if they have a couple of low scores, they're not going to be thrown on the scrap heap, which might have happened in Pakistan cricket 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
It's been the sort of game where you can look back on performances all the way through the game that have tilted the game one way or the other. Again, you've got to say, Syed Ajmal was very much in the game in the first innings. Although England got that lead, a very handy lead of 70 it seemed to be at the time, another 4 wickets for him. He is the man that, as Rahman was saying at the interview at the end of the game, gives them the confidence.
Yeah, but if you look at over the years, the great sort of mystery bowlers or the great fast bowlers, if you have somebody bowling well at the other end, 9 times out of 10 they're going to get wickets because the pressure they're creating. And for me, Ajmal got his wickets at the end, and it was a reward for the way he bowled at the start to put England under pressure. The way Rahman bowled kept it
all around the world. Now, just to bring you up to date with events, just in case you are just joining us, this is how England were bowled out in their second innings. For a paltry amount, for just 72. It was Cook who went first. Bell might think himself, and deservedly so, unlucky there. Peterson still at sea, I'm afraid. Still trying to gauge what's going to happen off the pitch and not quite getting it right, despite that big stride and LBW for him. Morgan has never got settled in the series yet. He's never really got in the series yet. He was beaten by the turn. Strauss was top scorer with 32. Had one escape earlier, but that was very much out, close but out. And then Trott, who'd been ill and had come in down the order, also found himself LBW. Broad, no heroics for him today. Stretching at that one and beaten by the turn. Swan on the back foot, just proving that front foot or back foot, you can still be in trouble under these conditions. Pryor had played pretty positively for his 18, the only other man into double figures, and Anderson was the last man out. Nicely caught by Umar Gul. So that's how those wickets fell. England all out for 72, losing by 72. We've now got going down to Sussex.